Good morning, students, teachers, and auxiliary staff. Welcome to our new school term. Students, kindly proceed to your classrooms. All Form 1s, please report to the library on the first floor for orientation. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Welcome back to school.
Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome to this afternoon's meeting. Today, we are here to hear from one of our parents, Mrs. Bishops Charles, who has asked for this meeting to address some concerns that she has with her son attending our school. This afternoon in the meeting, we have with us the class teacher, Ms. Sanichar, a member of our board, Ms. Ali, and myself, the principal, Mrs. Gibbons George. I will now open the floor for Mrs. Bishops Charles to bring forth her points.
Thank you, Ms. Gibbons George. So, ladies, I'd like to thank you all for agreeing to meet with me and to speak about the issues that I believe are plaguing my son. Before I start, I just want to draw your attention to what has brought us here, in that if it wasn't for the United Nations um, Rights of a Child, Equal Opportunity Act that was actually enacted back in 1986, we won't be here. I mean, before that, we had separate but equal, and everybody went to their own schools. But thanks to the act, especially Article 2, which says non-discrimination, and the convention applies to every child without discrimination, whatever their ethnicity, sex, religion, language, abilities, or other status. Whatever they think or say, whatever their family background, they are entitled to access to public schools. So my issue is where your school is concerned. My son has been attending for the last 2 weeks. He has not been able to attend his IT classes, his technical drawing classes, because they're all upstairs. He can't readily access the bathrooms. He has to require or lean on the dependency of the assistance of somebody else to help him raise his wheelchair to the washroom. If he has an issue when lunchtime, he can't just wheel himself across the courtyard to get to the cafeteria or to the feeding program. So I'm just trying to figure out what would you all be doing to assist my son.
Thank you for sharing your concerns with us, Mrs. Bishop's Charles. But I must assure you that at Eltokuch Secondary School, we are committed to cultivating an inclusive school culture. And indeed, it is our desire to provide the resources and support that each student needs, regardless of their race, background, or ability. And to speak on the issue of resources, I would invite Ms. Ali to take the floor at this time.
Good evening, everyone. Mrs. Bishop Charles. Well, to us at the board, this is not just a matter of resource allocation. Yes, resources required will definitely be substantial, but rather it will be a part of a bigger solution. The 2017 to 2022 draft education policy speaks to inclusive education, and after much research, the board has chosen to focus on Russian-American psychologist Dr. Yuri Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory. This theory provides us with a holistic approach to inclusive education. It takes a look at the individual's environment and basically separates it into 5 layers, and it explains what forces impact the learner at each layer and how those particular forces influence the learner's growth and development.
I will now invite Ms. Sanichar to share a few words as the class teacher.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, Ms. Bishop Charles. I am so very much remorseful hearing your plight and getting an insight into what John has been experiencing at our school over the period of time that he has been with us. During my short interaction with John, I have noticed as his class teacher that he has immense potential. I am really sorry that he has been feeling excluded from my classroom. However, I assure you that going forward, I will implement measures that creates an inclusive environment, which would really take care of his emotional psychological, and physical well-being, right? And I intend to do so through HFLE practices, all right? And by implementing these practices in the classroom, I can ensure you that he will feel included.
Ma'am, could you explain to me what is HFLE practices? Or what
Okay,
is
so
HFLE?
HFLE stands for Health and Family Life Education. This is a curriculum initiative that not only reinforces the connection between health and education, but also uses a holistic approach within a planned and coordinated framework. The subject area was first introduced in 1988 in primary schools and looked at four main areas: health and well-being, family, population, and education work. In 1996, the curriculum was then readapted, which created the UNICEF-led CARICOM multi-agency HFLE project. Since then, it has been implemented in secondary schools across the country. As a teacher, I will ensure that proper health and family life education practices are integrated in my lessons and that positive values, attitudes, and beliefs are taught to students. Once a week, during my form teacher period, I will be teaching HFLE. Students will learn the importance of their mental, social, and emotional well-being as I instill values that will shape their young minds. This will assist in developing their emotional intelligence. According to Salovey and Meyer, 1990, emotional intelligence is a subset of social intelligence, which involves monitoring one's own feelings and emotions to be able to guide their thoughts and actions.
So firstly, we'll look at the microsystem. We'll look at the immediate environment of the learner. Here we'll address things like school setting, teachers, peers. It also includes the family. But we will seek to implement wheelchair access to the first and second floors through construction of ramps. We'll also look at classroom modification layouts to ensure accessibility for learners who use wheelchairs. For example, we will need to invest in adjustable height furniture to accommodate learners in wheelchairs, and also have things at hand like lightweight foldable ramps for easy classroom accessibility. Here we'll also look at training teachers to use adaptive technologies, and they would do things like differentiate instruction to cater to diverse needs. We will also look into facilitating peer support programs that encourage inclusion and collaboration, and involve parents in decision making to create strategies with students' specific needs in mind.
The effective allocation of resources is critical in addressing the diverse needs of students. Positive educational outcomes are related to the appropriate distribution of resources. The inclusive education policy of Trinidad and Tobago emphasizes the importance of equitable resourcing. It encourages a transparent and effective mechanism of making these resources available to all students. To fulfill this mandate, we seek to supply the necessary resources, human and otherwise, to aid in the effective delivery of the curriculum.
I will also create a safe learning environment where students learn to show empathy, respect, kindness, and generosity towards each other, regardless of their abilities. This will foster sensitization of the emotional well being of others in my students, thereby making everyone feel a sense of inclusion and belonging in the classroom. According to psychologist Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the third and fourth levels are love and belonging and esteem needs. By creating an environment where students can feel they are loved, appreciated, and respected, I can ensure John's needs will be taken into account, and students will be rewarded for assisting John or any student that needs assistance with physical disabilities.
As the principal, I will lead by example in my interactions with the students, making them feel accepted and developing a sense of belonging, which falls in lines with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This need to belong is remarkably strong in childhood. Therefore, developing a school community where all are welcomed is of utmost importance. According to John Locke, education should not only address intellect, but also build character. The best way to achieve this is by displaying the behaviors we want our students to model.
Based on a study done in Bangladesh, a teacher implemented a reward system whereby students earn tickets for staying on task, acting well, and helping each other. These tickets were then used to collect prizes from the teacher's collection. I can adopt a similar strategy whereby a body system will be implemented to assist John. This will be a group of students from my class that will assist John in moving from point A to point B. That will allow him to conserve energy so that he doesn't feel burnt out when it's time for classes. These students will be rewarded for their kind efforts at the end of the week, where I will give them prizes for assisting John or for assisting any students with disabilities.
Secondly, we look at the mesosystem. Here we look at interactions between different elements of the microsystem, such as relationships between parents and teachers or between school administrators and support staff. Here we look at things like homeschool collaboration. We'll encourage communication between parents and teachers and therapists to ensure that we're all on the same page and we have all our goals aligned and we can share insights on the learners' needs as well as their progress and their challenges. We look at teacher collaboration. We will promote coordination between general and special education teachers to create individualized education plans for learners. Also, we'll include extracurricular inclusion. We'll ensure activities like sports, clubs, and field trips are all adapted to learners with mobility challenges and those with special education needs.
Hiring trained special educators to work alongside our teachers is a top priority, as well as obtaining various forms of assistive technologies. As far as possible, within our school's context, we will develop individual learning plans for disabled students in an effort to help them achieve their learning goals.
Third, the ecosystem. The ecosystem includes external environments that indirectly influence learners, such as us, school board, local government policies, and funding bodies. We will seek to establish policies that promote inclusion, such as zero tolerance for discrimination, and allocate resources for accessibility improvements and align our school policies with national policies that promote inclusive education. We'll advocate for funding from the Ministry of Education or local government to help us install ramps, elevators, and accessible facilities. We'll work with educational technology providers to secure adaptive tools like speech-to-text software or touchscreen devices. We'll partner with both government agencies such as the Ministry of Education, Student Support Services Division, Disability Affairs Unit, as well as non-governmental organizations such as the Consortium of Disability Organizations and the National Centre for Persons with Disabilities. We will lean on the expertise of these organizations to help us develop our own inclusive initiatives and to help us facilitate partnerships.
Self-actualization is facilitated by encouraging students to explore their unique talents and interests. Students are empowered to become the best version of themselves by engaging them in creative activities that allows for problem solving and developing decision-making skills.
4. The macro system. The macro system involves broader societal factors such as cultural attitudes, laws, and values. Here we will seek to promote a school culture that values diversity and inclusion. We will integrate these principles into both the curriculum and our extracurricular activities. We will align school practices with international frameworks such as the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. And we'll also raise awareness in the community about the importance of inclusive education and its benefits for all learners.
In Singapore, for example, teachers in mainstream schools receive training in special education, which provides them with the tools to effectively administer the curriculum to all students. To build a positive school community and raise awareness, the administration would source training on different types of disabilities. cultural sensitivities, and strategies to reduce stigma. Emile Durkheim proposed that education's primary function is to transmit society's norms and values, ensuring social homogeneity. He argued that this homogeneity is crucial for cooperation, social solidarity, and the survival of society. Durkheim believed that children must feel connected to something powerful within society, fostering a sense of belonging and commitment.
5. The chronosystem. This layer considers the dimension of time, including changes over time in the learner's environment and development. Here, we seek to monitor and evaluate the effectiveness of adaptive infrastructure and technologies over time to ensure they remain relevant and functional to all learners. We anticipate transitions, such as moving from secondary school to tertiary education, or even to the workplace, and prepare students for life skills and adaptive tools for long-term success.
So, ladies, all your conversations, all your ideas are really, really nice, but I would like to know when. I want timelines. I want to know when you'll plan to make things better for my child.
Well, I can assure you that we will start implementing these measures right away. Ms. Sanicha has indicated that, she would start bringing in the HFL implementation right away in her class. And within 2 weeks, we should have the ramps for your son to be able to use the cafeteria. In the interim, however, we are going to relocate his class to the ground floor and have all the teachers come to the ground floor to teach him.
And when you say the ramp for the cafeteria, you're talking about the cafeteria and the washrooms as well, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. And in the interim, you said the teachers will come down to teach him?
Yes, all of his classes will be held on the ground floor, so it will be easier for him to access his classroom.
Okay. And what about these students who would seem to think that since you're doing that for him, he's a burden to the class and they willing to pick on him and all the rest of it? What
I assure
procedures?
you, intolerance will not be accepted. And Ms. Sanicha is going to keep a watchful eye on the class and continue to encourage them to be sensitive to his needs as we cultivate an inclusive school.
So I have one more question though. I know the Ministry of Education rubric is you talk, you send to the social worker, and then suspension. So is it that my son would have to wait for 1, 2, 3, 4 instances before persons who are mean to him or bullying him or making his life a living hell before they would be suspended?
We will be following the outlined disciplinary matrix, but as I said, we will be vigilant and intervene at the first sight of any challenge.
Okay then, thank you very much.
So ladies, I want to thank you for attending this afternoon's meeting, and I look forward to all of the progress that we would make to ensure that John Minor has an enjoyable stay at our school. Thank you once again.